What's going on, everyone? It's Friday. Chilly outside, but it's hot in here. Y'all know how we do it. It's getting hot in here, so hot. It wasn't hot last Saturday night, when 12 people had to be hospitalized for hypothermia after the Chiefs-Dolphins game. But anyway, we forged forward. New weekend, 4 more games. Final 8 teams remain. We'll break down the 4 games, talk about what has to happen for teams to be victorious. I'll give you my predictions for those games and then some. And we got to talk about Echo, the Marvel series Echo. Because a lot of y'all hype this shit up. I got something to say about it. And then lastly, look, a lot of people asking me about Jay Gruden and Robert Griffin III. We'll get into that too. Y'all know what it is. You're locked in to the 390th installment of the Louie T Network podcast that starts now. The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Thank you for joining me here on the 390th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Hope everything is going well in your neck of the woods. Weather kind of held up in my neck of the woods. I told you that we were expecting some wintry type weather. We got it, but not as much as was expected. So the roads are still navigatable, and business went on as usual for the most part. One of my kids did have school canceled, but the twins were able to go to daycare. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Whew. Anyway, wanted to knock down a couple items before we got to the main event of the evening, which is, of course, the divisional round of the postseason. 4 games, 8 teams remain. We will cut that in half and get to the final 4 next weekend, next Sunday in particular, for the championship weekend. So, or championship Sunday. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. I want to start the show, however, by just a couple of non sequiturs, things that are going in like opposite directions all over the place. I'm just going to start throwing darts at the board. You let me know if they stick. So I brought up the hypothermia thing, which is just crazy to me. I saw a clip on socials of someone at the game on Saturday night, Chiefs, Dolphins. We all know the story, 27 below with the wind chill. Game started at 4 below at kickoff. And someone went to the little concession at the game, and they bought a water. They took a water out of the freezer, the controlled temperature freezer that the water was in to keep it cold. And they took it out, and as it was exposed to the air at Arrowhead, it froze instantly. And it was amazing to watch. It almost was like magic. Thanks. It was almost like magic, as that thing just from the bottom all the way to the top, it froze. It was almost like Iceman had touched it or something. Or what was the name of the guy in Incredibles that could freeze stuff? Whatever his name was. It was amazing to watch. Anyway, I just only bring this up because there are always some dum-dums at these games. And it was the same thing at the Bills Steelers game. So always some dum-dums that decide that they want to take their shirt off and that's the cool thing to do. And hey, look at me. It's cold as hell outside, but I got my shirt off because I'm a tough guy. those are the same people that end up in the ER, with hypothermia, having to, be brought back to their senses. People, if you're going to go out in the freezing cold, please act responsibly, okay? No one needs to lose their lives. Speaking of lose their lives, did y'all see that 2 people were shot and killed outside of the Bills-Dolphins game in Week 18? What the hell is going on at these football games? I mean, my goodness, this is crazy. People are going out to enjoy a game. And, every game we see somebody post something on socials. Like at the Cowboys game, they were turning again. Look, I love it just as much as the next man, okay? I love a good cowboy on cowboy violence spectacle, right? But you don't want to see anybody get hurt. You're not looking to see anybody throw blows and any of that stuff, but I watched a couple Cowboys fans turn on each other as that game got out of control. And so I just want people to go out, enjoy themselves, and return home in the same manner in which they left the house. Like, can we just go out, have a good time, whether your team wins or loses, return home without incident, okay? Please. Anyway, just wanted to bring that up. I don't know if you guys saw, but the Raiders are finalizing a deal to make Antonio Pierce the next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Who didn't see that coming? I said it was the right thing to do. I knew they were exploring other options, but this is the thing you have to understand. Their owner, Mark Davis, made a mistake the last time, and he admitted as much. And in life, we all make mistakes. No one's perfect. The key to life and the key to flourishing and becoming the best version of oneself in life is to learn from mistakes and not repeat them. He made a mistake when he didn't hire Rich Bisaccia on a permanent basis after he took a team that had been probably through the most adversity one team can go through in a regular season and took them to the playoffs. How often, first of all, how often is it that an interim coach takes a team to the playoffs? Not often at all. It just doesn't happen very often. I don't remember if Bruce Arians took the Colts to the playoffs or not. He might have when we were doing the Chuck Strong thing, when Chuck Pagano had cancer. I'm not sure if they went to the playoffs or not. They probably did. But, it's rare, right? He fired him, moved on from him, or he didn't give him the job on a permanent basis, I should say. And he moved on from him, gave it to Josh McDaniels. We know the rest of the story. This time, same kind of thing happened, except the Raiders didn't make the playoffs, but they were inspired. They played the type of football that Raiders fans can get behind and be proud of. And they set the foundation for what could be the Raiders turning things around. Like, they seemed to be lost, did the Raiders. There seemed to be no direction in Vegas with that football team, with that organization. It didn't seem like there was light at the end of that black hole. Now, it doesn't just seem like infinite darkness in the black hole. There is light. For the fan base, at least. It's not supposed to be any light for the opponent. I think they're doing the right thing. And if Antonio Pierce officially becomes the next Raiders head coach, they've done the right thing and they're heading in the right direction. Now they got to fix the quarterback position, but him being back, I think, has a lot of the pieces of the puzzle start to fit together. I think Josh Jacobs then comes back because he wants to be there with Antonio Pierce. Obviously, Max Crosby was talking like, hey, don't make me push the button. I'll do it. I know y'all saw that, where he pretty much said, I'm going to explore all options if my man, Antonio Pierce isn't brought back. I'm going to explore all. In other words, I'm going to request a trade. Okay. Like, you don't want to get messy. You don't want this thing to get messy, right? So good for them if that becomes official. Speaking of coaches, looks like Bill Belichick's getting awfully comfy in Atlanta. Awfully comfy. This is his second interview. It's getting really, really comfy out there. And I had read a quote, and I didn't know if this was legitimate or not. But I read a quote that it said Belichick wanted to go somewhere that was sort of a fixer-upper. Like, he didn't want to go somewhere established like Dallas, or Philadelphia, should those jobs have opened up. He wanted to go somewhere where the expectations were low. I think what he really wanted was low expectations and a ton of praise should he turn it around. Because I've already said this when I was making the claim for Washington being a better destination than Philadelphia and Dallas should those openings come available, which they're not. It doesn't look like at the moment. We know Dallas isn't, but Philadelphia is still up in the air. But I don't think they're going to do anything with Nick Sirianni either. I wouldn't if I were them. However, I made the case that the expectation levels are through the roof in both of those places. Like, Mike McCarthy was on the verge of being fired, having gone 12-5 3 years in a row. I get it. The postseason success has not been there, but damn, I mean, 12-5 3 years in a row, sheesh. And Nick Sirianni took the Eagles to the Super Bowl last year, and we were wondering if he was going to keep his job. I mean, if that's not high expectations, I don't know what is. And Belichick's like, I'm too old for that shit. I don't need the pressure of having to go in somewhere and immediately win. Let me go somewhere low pressure. They haven't experienced winning in a while, so anything that I do is gonna excite the fan base. Let me get back to some of that. Atlanta's the exact spot that he needs to be in if that's what he's looking for. So, I still don't like Belichick without a quarterback. I thought that his best destination would have been somewhere like the Chargers, or hell, even the Titans, even though we don't know what they have at the quarterback position with Will Levis. I always just felt like that would be a better fit, but that's no here nor there. Looks like he's heading to Atlanta. That's not a done deal. Nothing has been finalized, but the second interview reeks of, hey, we're getting close. Just hammering out a few particulars, and we're going to make this thing official here shortly. That's what that sounds like and feels like to me. I know y'all have been following this Robert Griffin III and Jay Gruden brouhaha. And I haven't. I'm not going to even hold y'all. Like, so many people have been sending me shit. This is how I've been keeping up with it, so to speak. I'm not up on the latest. I don't care. I honestly, I swear to you, I'm not telling a fib here, okay? I am being as brutally honest as I can. I'm keeping it a bean with y'all. I don't give two shits about what these two are arguing about. We're talking about 2014. We're talking about 2015. We're talking about eons ago. Yikes. Zoinks. Scoop. Y'all too old for this, man. Now, what I will say is, having seen enough of these types of spats in the past, generally, there's truth on both sides and there's cap on both sides. So what you have to do, if you really care, is you got to parse through everything and try to figure out what's what. And really what it turns into is a he said battle, and you don't know what's true and what's not true. What I like to do in these types of situations is find a third party that was there for the entire thing and listen to what they have to say. And if there's another third party that was there and they feel like talking, this is why we need, and we've been talking about this for years. This is why we need a rise and fall of RG3 30 for 30. Just make it happen. I'm pretty sure everybody's comfortable talking about it. Hell, he works for ESPN now. I'm pretty sure everybody's comfortable talking about it now. Go to all the players that were there during that duration. Go to both Kyle and Mike. Go to Matt LaFleur. All of the players that were there, right? go to all of the players that feel like talking Santana Moss, and we heard from Will Compton on socials. That's who I got my little 2 cents from, because honestly, he has no dog in the fight. He's cool with Robert Griffin III. He's cool with Coach Gruden, and so he doesn't care, who looks the best in this thing. He's going to give it to you the way he saw it unfold back in 2014. So my biggest thing is, there will be no resolution to this. Robert Griffin III has invited Jay Gruden onto his podcast to hash this thing out. He's not going to take the invite, I don't think. And so this back and forth on socials is dumb. It started over something stupid. And, at the end of the day, Robert Griffin III I've listened to some of the things he had to say, and some of it is truth. I don't believe that Jay Gruden told him to air his teammates out publicly. He may have said, hey, you can challenge them through the media if you'd like. But he didn't tell him to go out there and throw them under the bus and then put the bus in reverse and run over them again, which is what he did after that Eagles loss. And for him to then say, oh, yeah, no, Jay eviscerated him. And you're not supposed to do that. But you know what I was doing? Back in 2014, when Jay came out and eviscerated him, I was cheering him on, telling him to put a little bit more sauce on it, because Robert deserved it, because he was full of himself back then. And he didn't think he could do any wrong. And so I didn't see anything wrong with it at the time. Having taken a step back and watched it, over again, it was bad. It was really bad. And you shouldn't do that to your quarterback, even if he's a pompous, arrogant, self-serving jerk at the time. You shouldn't do that to him. And so it was wrong, I'll admit. But at the end of the day, Jay was brought in to resurrect Robert Griffin III's career. He took the job with the understanding that his primary goal in getting hired was to make Robert Griffin III great again. He quickly realized when he got there that I can't do that. This kid doesn't have the tools necessary to fit my offensive scheme. And he bailed on him, and he went to Kirk, and he went to Colt, and anybody he could not name Robert Griffin III, and they finally got away from him. And all of the things that happened between him getting there and him benching Robert Griffin III is water under the bridge for me. I am over that whole situation. Look, I am embracing change and everything that is coming with it in Washington right now. The last thing I need them doing is drumming up all now. You want to do this? If they did this exact same thing in late May, early June, I'd be all over it, because there is nothing to talk about then. But you're doing this in the heart of Washington, going through their GM search, and they've made a decision there, and now their coaching search, and NFL playoffs. There's so much to talk about, and you want to do this now? Yeah, I'm good. I'm a pass on this. So people want to know how I feel. I am unbothered. That's how I feel. I got no bandwidth for that foolishness. Okay. I've left that in the past almost a decade ago. Let bygones be bygones. Okay. Anyway, can't we all just get along? And then lastly, I needed to bring this up. I was told by numerous sources about Echo on Disney Plus. And I'd seen the previews, and me and my wife had already earmarked it as something we were going to watch. We were excited. And I recognized the villain from, I want to say it was Daredevil. He was on Daredevil, if I'm not mistaken. And so at first I tried to charge him to the Luke Cage account. And my wife's like, nah, he wasn't a villain on Luke Cage. And then we went through the 2 villains because it was only 2 seasons of Luke Cage. And I was like, yeah, no, he's not up there. Then we figured out, we went through our, Marvel Rolodex, and we figured out it was Daredevil. So I was like, okay, cool. They'll tie in the storyline somehow. And they just gave us a little quick thing at the beginning. Daredevil shows up, this, that, and the third. And it's okay, cool. So I had one person tell me that Echo restored their faith in Disney. I was like, well, damn. And then I had somebody else tell me, yo, Echo is the best thing I've watched since fill in the blank. And I was like, well, shit, we better get on this. So that's exactly what we did last weekend. And we watched it, and it was good. But you would have thought that this was the second coming of Luke Cage, which I thought was phenomenal. Phenomenal. You would have thought, you know what was really good? I think it was called Chi-Town. What was the name of that movie where the kid has powers and his best friend, and they go to like a different dimension, and it's like his heritage. I forget the name of the movie. If I had my phone on me, I would look it up. That's a really good movie, and it was well done. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was on par with that. I watched Echo, and it was good. But it wasn't like this legendary status that y'all put it up to that made, like, I think I would have felt perfectly fine about it had you guys not put it on this pedestal that made it feel like it was the best thing since sliced bread. I probably would have just enjoyed it for what it was and would have been like, hey, cool. And they left us with a cliffhanger for the next, season, because they're going to do this again, obviously. I didn't enjoy that better than Miss Marvel. You call me what you want. I'm still waiting on season 2 of Miss Marvel. Like, there are other shows that I watched. Like, I'm mad because I would love them to bring back WandaVision. I don't think they are. I enjoyed WandaVision more than Echo. Sorry, not sorry. I just felt like people were building this thing up, and I was expecting this like, she should have died like 5 times in the show, literally. Like, I struggled with some of the stuff that was going on. I didn't love the ending, but again, I know why they did what they did. They left it like that so that there would be another season. I'm just saying, for everyone that built this thing into the greatest thing since, pipe down a bit. That's all I'm saying. Like, if you haven't seen Echo, it's really good. I recommend it, but I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke and make you feel like, oh my God, I got to watch this. And then you watch it and you go, what was everybody? What's all the fuss about? Okay. It was good. It wasn't like top notch 10 out of 10, like a lot of you were hinting at. That's the part that got me. Is me and my wife, she's like, so how did you feel about that? And I was like, yeah, it was all right. It was all right. She was like, yeah, it was, I didn't like how it ended. And, we started picking it apart, and we're going to watch season 2 whenever it comes out. But it wasn't as much as you guys tried to make it out to be. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to the Gem Droppin Session, shall we? I think we shall. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T8. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. So, we got 4 games on Sunday. Some good matchups. some matchups that you think you know how it's going to go, right? I'm intrigued by every single matchup for different reasons. We'll go in chronological order of the games in which they will be played. So we first start on Saturday afternoon at 4:30. The number one seed overall in the playoffs, but overall in the AFC in particular, the Baltimore Ravens will be taking on the Houston Texans. This is a rematch of week number 1 of the regular season. Totally different Houston Texans team, totally different Baltimore Ravens team than these two teams saw the first time when they met. So this is a much more evolved and experienced, much more confident Texans team. And I guess you could probably say the same thing for the Ravens at this point. They feel so much better about their situation. And we all know, and this is something that we don't talk about a lot when we talk about playoff games, but all the pressure's on Baltimore. There is zero pressure on Houston. There was more pressure on Houston last week at home against Joe Flacco than there is this week. Now they're playing with house money. They're not supposed to beat the Ravens. They're not even supposed to be here with a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback. Lamar Jackson needs to win in the postseason. This is his opportunity, his best shot ever in his career to win a Super Bowl with no Joe Burrow. The Bills haven't been themselves this year. The Chiefs are not themselves this year. This is the opportunity for him to get a Super Bowl, if there was ever one, for him to get one. He's going to win the MVP trophy for the second time in his career. Coincidentally enough, the last time he won the MVP trophy, they had the number 1 seed and got bounced in their first game coming off the bye against Tennessee. Same situation, same division, different opponent. This time the Texans. Everything, all the pressure's on the Ravens in this game. Every ounce of it. How they respond will be interesting to see. Mike McDonald is getting a lot of attention for the defensive jobs that he's done this year on some of the top coordinating options out there. Bobby Slowick being one of them. We'll see if he can duplicate the success he had the first time. I've said this already. That first game of the season was a lot closer than people give the Houston Texans credit for. That game got away from them late. They went for it on 4th down like 9 times and didn't get it. And that's how the Ravens ended up running away and hiding. But that was a close ball game up until the early stages, maybe the mid stages of the 4th quarter. So I wouldn't be shocked if the Texans hang in there and make it a dogfight. Here's what has to be done for a victory to be achieved for both teams. We'll start with the roadie here in the Houston Texans. The first things first, weather the storm early. The Ravens have made it their business this season to jump on quality opponents relatively early. They're one of the best front-running teams in the league, and that's always been a staple of a Lamar Jackson coached team, is that they are tremendous as front runners. But when you punch the Baltimore Ravens in the face, a lot of times they wilt under the pressure of not being able to jump on someone and boat race them. But if you look at their opponents this year that they've played with winning records, and they've destroyed and devoured good competition this season, just utterly dismantled and disassembled good competition. Whether you're talking the 38-13 or whatever that beating was they put on the 49ers, the 56-19 beating they put on the Dolphins. I think it was 28-0 at the end of the first quarter against the Lions. Like, this is what they're doing to some of the best teams in football. So you got to weather the storm early. They're going to come out. Crowd is going to be in full throat. They're going to be juiced and ginned up, fresh off of a bye. It's going to be electric, M&T Bank will be. You can't come in and get caught up in the moment. You can't come in there all wide-eyed like, oh my God, this is what playoff football feels like on the road. You got to go in there and you got to take this opportunity by the horns. You got to go in, and this is going to be on the plate of offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick, especially if the Texans receive the football first. If the Ravens win the toss and they elect to defer and you get the ball first, that's your opportunity, similar to what Green Bay did in Dallas, to take that football, march it down the field, tell the crowd to sit down and shut up, and then settle yourself into that ball game. If the Ravens get it first, you win the toss and you defer, and they get it first, even if they score, you got to match them early. But the best thing you can do is to not let them score, not let them get into a rhythm, not let the crowd get into the game, because once they get into the game and they're bloodthirsty and the Ravens feed off of that, now you turn it over, or now they got a short field, or now they get an explosive play. Next thing you know, you look up, you're down 2 scores. It can get out of control and get away from you very quickly. So the first thing, if you're the Texans, is weather the storm, weather the environment, settle into this game. Don't allow yourself to get caught up in a road playoff game against an opponent that is capable of blowing your doors off. Settle into this game relatively early, quiet the crowd, and make this thing a dogfight. How do you do that? The first thing you're probably going to have to do, it doesn't matter if you run it effectively, because that's not really who the Texans have been of late, especially, is a very efficient rush offense team. You'd like to see them run the football more effectively. I don't know if that's going to happen against the Ravens or not. Here's what you need to do. You need to find yourself in third and very manageable situations. I would love it if you were able to establish some semblance of the run, because that's what this offense is predicated off of, is play action, being able to freeze those underneath defenders and open up those second and third window opportunities down the field. So if you can run it early, you force those linebackers to respond, it opens up that second window and maybe even gives you an opportunity to take the big shot down the field in that third window, whatever the case may be. Whether it's the short passing game or, like last week, the screen game, whatever it is, you got to keep yourself in manageable down and distances. Keep the Ravens guessing. Don't be predictable. Don't put C.J. Stroud in obvious passing situations. The Ravens lead the NFL in sacks. The Ravens lead the NFL in turnovers forced. These are things that they do when they get you in obvious passing situations. Now you have to throw the football. Now they can come after you. Now they can be aggressive. So that's another thing, is stay in manageable third down distances. Stay in manageable, be successful on first and second downs in particular. That's going to put you in manageable third down situations. And then lastly, you can't turn it over. You can't make the big mistake, right? If we're talking offense, you can't make the big mistake if you're Houston. And you have to score touchdowns in the red zone. Get points, period, but touchdowns obviously are more preferable than field goals, because the Ravens can score. Then on the defensive side of your Houston, you have to limit the legs of Lamar Jackson. He's been more of a passer this year, but he's still just as dangerous as he's ever been with his legs. Those can be a backbreaker. If you have to spy. Don't be afraid to use one. It's not like you got a guy that can keep up with him, but all you want to do is slow him down. Funnel him to your help. Don't let him get loose. Try to eliminate the explosive plays. They've got playmakers all over the field. Try to not give up a quick, easy pass and allow it to go for big yardage. Try not to let Odell Beckham Jr. or Zay Flowers get behind your defense and create a big play. Like, keep everything in front of you. Make them nickel and dime their way down the field. And if you can keep forcing Lamar to have to complete passes, keep forcing them to have to make good and smart decisions after smart decision after smart decision, you'll put yourself in a position where you'll have a shot. If you're the Ravens, you want to do everything that I just said that they can't allow you to do. Start fast. The last thing you want is for Houston to think that they have a shot in this game, because they're a dangerous team. And I've always said this about young teams. I said the same thing about Green Bay last week against Dallas. They're young, they're dumb, and they don't know no better. And when you get a young, dumb, hungry team, they don't know that they're not supposed to win this game, that they're not supposed to be in the AFC Championship game with a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback. They don't know. They don't care. All they know is we're on the road in a hostile environment in a game that everybody said we're supposed to lose. So why not prove them wrong? You got to show them why everybody else is right and why this is your time, why you've put yourself in this position to win it all, and they're just a stepping stone for you to get to the AFC Championship game. You got to come out and assert yourself early. I always worry about the team coming off the bye that has had issues in the playoffs in the past, because sometimes rest isn't a good thing. The team that's hot, that's been playing, they're in much better, playing shape. They're ready to go. And it takes the team coming off the bye a little bit of time to reacclimate themselves, get back to the speed of things. And sometimes that's all the team needs in order to stay in the game and give themselves confidence. If you're Baltimore, I'd love to see you just come out and immediately assert yourself. And even if that doesn't happen, you still have to be in a position to dictate the pace of this game. Play it at your terms, not theirs. I think it's going to be imperative that you disrupt CJ Stroud's timing and rhythm. Another thing that I would be very cognizant of is he's running out of options. There's no Tank Dell, obviously done for the season. There's no Noah Brown in this game. You got to take away Nico Collins. If Dalton Schultz or Brevin Jordan wants to beat you at the tight end position, knock yourself out. But you can't let their best receiver get off when you know he's really the only receiver that they have. You have to take Nico Collins away if you're Baltimore. Make somebody else beat you. If you can get to CJ Stroud and rattle his cage, you'll slow that offense down. But if you really want to slow them down, take away Nico Collins and make him look elsewhere. That's the guy he really wants to get the football to. That's the guy he's got the most synergy with. Take away Nico Collins, you'll slow down CJ Stroud, and you'll ultimately get to where you want to be. Now, you got to stop the run first. In order to have fun, you got to stop the run. You know how that works. And on offense, just quickly, Lamar, play within yourself. Don't try to do too much. Find the open receivers. You've got playmakers, guys that can make things happen with the ball in their hands. Do that thing. We'll see if they activate running back Dalvin Cook in this game and get him some touches and get him kind of settled in as a Baltimore Raven for this stretch run. Running the ball would be very helpful. Get Gus Edwards and all of those guys, Justice Hill, everybody involved in the run game. But ultimately, it's going to be in Ate's hands. He's going to be the one that dictates the outcome of this game offensively. Make smart decisions. Don't turn it over. And just be you. Be the MVP of the league. That's what you got to do. You do that, I don't see how you lose this ball game. I've got the Ravens winning this game 34-20 over the Texans. I think this is a close game. Late stages of the third, we're talking about a one-score game here. One-score game. 20-17, the Texans are hanging in there. Matter of fact, 20-13, that's too close. 20-13, the Texans are hanging in. Ravens score a touchdown, extend that lead out to 27-13. Texans then score a touchdown, make it 27-20, Ravens score again, 34-13, and then the Texans get a late garbage time touchdown and make it 34-20. That's how I see this game going. Ravens advance to the AFC Championship game. If they don't win this game, they being the Ravens, now we have to have a Lamar Jackson playoff conversation. Because now we're getting into a dangerous territory that you don't want to be as a quarterback. You have to get to the AFC Championship game if you're Lamar Jackson. You've never been. This is your best opportunity. Make it happen. Next game, Saturday night. Packers at the 49ers. Packers are the first 7 seed in NFL history to advance to the divisional round since the format changed to 14 playoff teams and 7 seeds in each conference. So congratulations to the Green Bay Packers for making history last week. With that said, now they have to go up against the number 1 seed in the NFC, the San Francisco 49ers, who are top 3 in the league in scoring offense and scoring defense. So it's not going to be an easy task. However, this Packers team, I just said this about the Texans, they're young, dumb, they're hungry, and they don't know any better. They don't know that what they don't know. They don't know that they're not supposed to be here, that they're not supposed to be winning these games, that the veteran teams are the ones that are supposed to be doing damage this time of the year, not the young gunners. And so they're just out having fun right now. They're the youngest team in the NFL by a long shot, and they're just out having fun. And if you're the 49ers, you want to bring that fun to a screeching halt. And I kind of feel the same way that I felt about the Texans game. If you're the 49ers, you're coming off this bye. You want to shake off that rust fairly quickly, but you really want to come in and establish and assert yourself and your dominance early in this game. The Packers did something unconventional against Dallas last week. They won the toss. They accepted, received the football, and went down, scored a touchdown, took the lead. And that was the game plan all along. I don't know if you guys have heard the sound effects as they had Aaron Jones mic'd up. But he essentially said, hey, F these front runners. We gonna win the toss, take the ball down the field, punch them in the mouth, and we're going to set the tone. And that's exactly what they did. They had a plan. They stuck to the script. As a wise man once told me, money over just niggas to the script. That's what they did. They went out there, they packed, they re-upped, got back on their shit. The next thing you know, it was 41-16, right? So at the end of the day, if you're San Francisco, you can't allow that same thing to happen to you. And Kyle Shanahan has made it abundantly clear. We're not changing what we do, which is the smart thing. We're not adapting or adjusting to a 7 seed, okay? We're the 1 seed. We the Don Dadas out here, okay? We the made men. You want us? Come and get us. Come and get me. Come and get me. So they asked him, hey, if you win the toss, are you going to take the football? Nah, I'm good. I want to double dip. I'm straight. If they want the ball first, they can have it. I don't give a shit nothing about what they did last week. We not Dallas. Clearly, we not Dallas. So their attitude and their mindset is like, look, we know who we are. We know what we're about. This is how we're going to operate. The key for me, first and foremost, stop the run game of the Packers. If you're the Packers, the direct opposite. You got to run the football and be balanced like you were last week. Part of why you were so effective in the play action game, why guys were so wide open, is because the run game was so effective. They had to come up to stop Aaron Jones. He was destroying them. And in doing that, the play action worked so beautifully and guys are running open. So Luke Musgrave is wide open. Romeo Doubs is just destroying, Stephon Gilmore, running away from him, right? Left that man running down the street, butt ball naked. But that's because play action fake was so impactful. If you can slow down their run game and force Jordan Love to feel like he has to beat you by himself, I think you can get the young fella to press and make a mistake or two. But if he's in a rhythm, and that's one thing we've seen from him in his brief NFL career as a starter, what we've seen from Jordan Love is when he gets comfortable and into a rhythm, he's tough to stop because he's one of these passers. He's already confident in his abilities. He already has that Aaron Rodgers type swag to his game already as is. So once he gets into a rhythm and he starts a game 9 for 11 or 10 for 12, you're in trouble because now his confidence is at an all-time high. That's what happened in the Dallas game. Like, he was making all kinds of throws off of different platforms. There's one play where he goes to play action fake. The running back is in the way. He has to take the ball and without even thinking, he takes the ball and pulls it over the guy's head, reloads, and finds Romeo Doubs wide open. He was in a zone. If you're the 49ers, you can't allow that zone to be achieved in this game. Furthermore, the 49ers have been one of the more explosive and dynamic offenses this season with McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. And so it's a different animal than Dallas. Even though Dallas had similar weapons and guys that could hurt you, it's a little bit different. Their operation runs a lot smoother. You know what you're getting. You just can't stop it. You don't know how you're going to get it, but you know it's coming at you in some way, shape, or form. Like, you know you're going to get a Deebo Samuel screen or two. You know you're going to get a Deebo Samuel handoff or toss. You know you're going to get a George Kittle, seam ball. Or you're going to get George Kittle up the sideline. You know you're going to get George Kittle probably running up the middle of your field somewhere. When are you going to get it? Are you going to be able to stop it when you get it? These are all the questions you have to ask yourself. And then you're going to get Brandon Ayuk doing a little bit of everything. Short, intermediate, and maybe even deep. So can you stop these things? Is the question. The answer is no. Let's not forget, the Green Bay Packers defensively have been horrendous prior to the final 3 weeks of the season. The final 2 weeks of the regular season, they cleaned up some of the messes that had been made. Don't forget, this is a team that gave up 30 points to a very stagnant and nasty Panthers offense and almost lost that game back in week 16. They cleaned up their act in week 17 against the Vikings on the road, did it again the following week against a Bears team that had been playing really good football and only surrendered 9 points to them. And then they destroyed and devoured a Cowboys offense that was riding high, playing great football at home this season. So the defense has been much better over the last 3 weeks, but it's still a defense, and Jair Alexander is banged up and may not be able to go in this game. It's still a defense that can be taken advantage of, and this is the type of game that I see them being taken advantage of. Now, again, if they allow the Packers to get into a rhythm, settle in, and make this a ball game, they're going to have a street fight on their hands. If the 49ers come out, assert themselves early in this game, stop Aaron Jones, force Jordan Love to beat them, smother these young receivers, make it tough for them to operate in space, make Jordan Love have to hold on to it a little bit longer than he wants to, I think this could get away from the Packers. And I think it ultimately will get away from the Packers. I've got the 49ers winning this game 33-16 in a game that isn't even as close as the score actually indicates. This is a dominant performance by the 49ers on their way to the NFC Championship game, and they take care of business. You go to the Sunday action, and we start with the first game at 3:00 on Sunday afternoon. Lions hosting the Bucs. Bucs won the NFC South, beat the Eagles 32-9 in Wild Card Weekend, advanced to the divisional round where the Lions await them, a team that hadn't won a playoff game since 1991 and hadn't hosted a home playoff game since 1993. So they killed two birds with one stone by beating the Rams last week 24-23. They're at home again. That's as raucous an environment as there is left in the playoffs right now. The Lions are for real, and that fan base is starved, and they're acting like it, and I love it. So it's going to be tough for Tampa Bay to go in there and operate. It just is. And so this has been a fun ride for the Bucs. I'm happy for Todd Bowles. I'm happy for Baker Mayfield. But the Bucs stops here. Pun intended. Okay. This Lions team offensively has it going. Defensively, they can't do what they did last week. Like Todd Bowles was downright disrespectful to the Philadelphia Eagles. He didn't respect Brian Johnson and his offensive play calling. There were so many chinks in the armor of the Eagles coming into the game. They couldn't protect. They couldn't, decipher blitz. They couldn't, adjust to blitzes and make teams pay for them. And they knew it. And so they were relentless in their pursuit of Jalen Hurts, just blitzing snap after snap after snap. The Eagles' refusal to run the football made it even easier for them to attack Hurts. You're not going to get that from the Lions. Ben Johnson, their offensive coordinator, is going to run the football. They are going to attack your blitz. If you want to be aggressive, they will throw screens behind it. They will get quick hitters out to the flats, or they'll get to the receivers running slants, things of that nature. So it won't be as easy to get after them with the blitz. The play action is something that is very, very effective in Detroit, something that the Eagles, really weren't utilizing because of their lack of the run game. So there's going to be so many different things that the Bucs are going to have to contend with in this game that they really didn't have to concern themselves with a week ago. That said, Tampa Bay did a really good job last week of not turning it over, and we've seen them operate at maximum efficiency this season when they don't turn the ball over. When they're able to take care of the football, do the little things correctly, and play within themselves, they're dangerous and they can steal a ball game. Now, with that said, last week's 32 points, that's not who Tampa Bay really is at their core. They're really hey, we want to grind you to a halt, slow the game down, 23-17, 23-20, 20-17. That's where their wheelhouse is. They've had 30-point performances this season, including last week, but those are rare and few and far between. Okay. That's not who they are as an offense. And again, you think about their touchdowns last week. Broken tackles on the first one to David Moore, broken tackle on the one to Trey Palmer, and then Baker essentially throws up a jump ball against all-out pressure to Godwin for the final touchdown, right? So when you look at what they did in that game, it wasn't anything extravagant. It wasn't them. Now, Mike Evans did drop a deep ball that would have put them in a position to score, but it wasn't anything that you say, oh my gosh, that's going to be tough to stop. Just make tackles. I mean, that's essentially what you do the little things right against Tampa Bay, and you force Baker Mayfield. They don't run it well, okay? Last week, they actually ran it effectively, okay, which is something they would love to duplicate. I think that Danny Canales has done a tremendous job with this offense and making it somewhat balanced, even though they're not a very efficient rush offense. Last week, they ran it very well, 4 yards a pop for their lead back, White. And if they can do that again, they'll give themselves a chance. I just don't see them having that type of success against Detroit. I don't see them being able to be multifaceted. I see them being forced into a one-dimensional game where Baker Mayfield has to beat them. And I just don't see Baker Mayfield being able to do that. Okay. So I said all of that to say this. Now, on the other side, I will say this. If they can get to Jared Goff, we know Jared Goff, and this is the narrative he's going to have to defeat. Okay. There will be people like me who will continue the narrative that Jared Goff, if you pressure him, he'll do something stupid with the football. If you can get to Jared Goff and apply pressure bust pipes, and we know Jared Goff has no problem springing a leak, he's going to have to defeat that narrative. If they can run the football, stay balanced, this is a Bucs defense that does not give it up on the ground. If they can stay somewhat balanced, or if Ben Johnson can do his magic on first downs when the Bucs are expecting run and throw the football and keep Jared Goff ahead of that Bucs defense, they've got a chance to win this football game comfortably. I think this is going to be a closer game than people think. I don't expect the Bucs to lay down. I think the team who turns it over the least or makes the least amount of mistakes will win this game. I think that will be the Detroit Lions, but I don't think it will be without strife. I think both teams will turn it over in this game. Detroit was clean last week. Tampa was clean last week. I don't think either team will leave this game clean from a turnover perspective. I think we're going to see both of these teams turn it over, but I think the Tampa Bay turnovers will be more disastrous than the Detroit ones. And I've got the Lions winning this game 27-17 as they advance to the NFC Championship game. Who would have thought that the Detroit Lions would be in the NFC Championship game? But here we are. I mean, think about it. One of these two teams, the Bucs or the Lions, will be playing in the NFC Championship game. Let that shit sink in for a second, guys and gals. All of you at home, the winner of this game will be in the NFC Championship game. Who had that on their bingo card at the beginning of the year? Not I. And the final game of the divisional round is one that has been probably the best rivalry in the NFL the last probably 4 years. Maybe Bengals Chiefs might have it beat by just a smidge, but if it's not 1A, 1B, this is the best rivalry in the NFL, and that's Chiefs and Bills. This is the first time, however. We've never seen this rivalry in the postseason like this. It's always been red in color, never blue. Well, the roles have been reversed. Mahomes, for the first time in his playoff career, is on the road. Josh Allen, for the first time in his playoff career, will be hosting a home playoff game against Patrick Mahomes. It should be a dandy. Looking forward to the 2-seeded Bills hosting the 3rd-seeded Kansas City Chiefs. So this game is all about defense, both sides of the football, or both teams rather. The Chiefs aren't what they used to be on offense. That's not a secret. No one's debating that anymore. Nobody's waiting for Mahomes and his offense to magically wake up. They are who they are. That's who they're going to be this year until the offseason, where they could make some changes. They could, be aggressive in free agency, go after a big name receiver like Mike Evans, or they could be aggressive in the draft and go get a guy. Whatever the case may be, they are who they are this year. And they're not going to get that much better on offense. It would help if Travis Kelce would come back to life. He's been somewhat flaccid over the last month or so. Be nice if he came back to life. He had a pretty miserable game last week with a couple of drops, but it was fine. They did what they needed to do, and they took care of business and advanced over the Dolphins 26-7. Different animal you're dealing with this week in the Buffalo Bills, and this is a Bills team playing with an abundance of confidence. They've been playing playoff football for about 2 months now. So they're right in their wheelhouse. They've seen this Chiefs team. As a matter of fact, during that playoff stretch that they had during the regular season where they couldn't afford a loss, they ran into these same Chiefs on the road and beat them. It seems like every one of these games between these two teams ends in some sort of controversy. That one, no different, with the whole issue with Kadarius Toney and being offsides. But that's nor here nor there. The bottom line is, if the Chiefs can stop the run, the Bills have been running the football very effectively since Joe Brady has taken over as their offensive coordinator. If they can stop the run and force Josh Allen to beat them, you may be able to bait Allen into a mistake or two. He's still the same Josh Allen. Nothing has changed. He'll still turn it over. You just got to put him in an uncomfortable position to make him want to try to be Superman. If you don't force him to put on that cape and force him to feel like he's got to do something extraordinary, he'll just remain a force back there and blend in and just be extraordinary. You want him to feel like he's got to be extraordinary. and he's got to do something superhuman. And that's when you can get him to make a mistake, throw across his body, try to run a defender over, have the ball holding like a loaf of bread and gets knocked out of his hand. That's the kind of shit you need him to do in this game. And your defense is fully capable of forcing Allen into a mistake or two. That said, Allen has also had success against that Chiefs defense. And he knows that he can't turn it over and that he has to play clean ball. And we'll see if he's able to do that or not. I said this before the Bills went on this run, when they lost in overtime at Philadelphia and people wrote them off and said they were done. I made the statement then, and I've held true to it since, and I'm not backing off of it now, that they were going to the AFC Championship game. And in order for that to come to fruition, they have to beat the Chiefs. And so the key to this game is literally Chiefs defense against Bills offense. Because I know what the Bills defense is going to do to Kansas City. If the Chiefs go out and have infinite success against the Bills defense, I will be shocked. I will be beside myself. I can't see that happening because they haven't had that kind of success against anyone in probably 3 months now. The last time they just ran it up on somebody was probably the Bears in like week 6 of the season or something, 5. Like, they just don't do that anymore. That's not who they are. That's not what they're capable of doing these days, unless you allow it to be that way. And the Bills are good enough that they're not going to allow that to happen. So a wise man once told me, fast guys run fast, slow guys run slow. It's only a story when the opposite happens. That's what I'm expecting out of the Chiefs offense and the Bills defense. I'm expecting the Bills to play quality defense, the Chiefs to play mid offense, and for that to kind of balance itself out. Where the game will be won or lost is on defense with the Chiefs and offense with the Bills. If that Chiefs defense wins the battle against Josh Allen and that Bills offense, who will be without Gabe Davis for the second consecutive game, which means a guy that stepped up last week and has been stepping up this season, and Khalil Shakir, is going to have to step up. Those Bills tight ends are going to have to step up. And I think this is the game where we finally see Stephon Diggs find the end zone again. I would not be shocked if he had a big game against the Kansas City Chiefs, but because they may pay more attention to these tight ends, giving him more opportunities. If they don't, the tight ends will continue to eat. The question will be, can they stop the Bills from running the football and make Josh Allen feel like he's got to be superhuman? If the answer is no, and they can stay balanced, and Allen is finding the tight ends, and he's finding Khalil Shakir and finding secondary options, and they're running the football, and he's himself running the football, they're going to win this football game. That's what I see happening, but this is not going to be a blowout or anything crazy. This is going to be a close ball game, nip and tuck. The Chiefs are actually going to be leading this game under 4 minutes to go. Allen and company drive it the length of the field, cap it off with a touchdown, 24 to 20. They take the lead, and then the defense, which has been much maligned in situations like that, are going to have to sweat it out against Mahomes, who will drive them all the way to the Bills' 32-yard line, have 2 shots at the end zone at the end, can't get it in, and the Bills survive and advance to the AFC Championship game, 24 to 20 over the Chiefs. So my championship weekend looks as follows. The 1-seeded San Francisco 49ers will be hosting the 3rd-seeded Detroit Lions. And in the AFC, the 1-seeded Baltimore Ravens will be hosting the 2-seeded Buffalo Bills. So it's pretty much chalk, right? That's usually how the NFL playoffs go for the most part. You get 1 or 2 upsets here or there. I don't see it happening this time around, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. What says you? Leave it down in the comment section as to what you think will take place. Anyway, I digress. You guys get out of here. Enjoy your weekend. You know what we'll do? We'll come back tomorrow. We'll do this. We'll break these games down, talk about how the outcomes were achieved. And hopefully, I hope I'm wrong about some of these scores and the margin of victory in some of these games, because Last week was very anticlimactic. Other than Dallas and Philadelphia losing, with me being a Commanders fan, it wasn't a great weekend of football. We had 3 doubleheaders, 3 consecutive days, and of the 6 games, only 1 was actually competitive at the very end. I would hope that we get at least a 50% hit rate on competitive games down to the finish this weekend. We deserve it. Really, we deserve 3 out of 4 being close, nip and tuck games based off of the nonsense we got last week. But we'll see what happens. Ultimately, all we want, if you don't have a dog in the fight, which I don't, all you want is somewhat competitive football. Although secretly, I am rooting for Lamar Jackson to win his first Super Bowl. But or Josh Allen. Those are my 2 guys from that 2018 draft. Either one of them, and I'll feel good about it. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, you guys, get out of here. Enjoy your weekend. I look forward to chopping it up with you tomorrow. Shout out to my wife. I love you, babe. Congratulations again. And celebrate. You guys, see you tomorrow. See what happens in these games. We'll start it off with the Texans at Ravens. We'll finish it off with Packers at 49ers. See you there. Don't meet me there. Beat me there. We'll break it down when it's all done. You guys take care. God bless. And good night.